Tema njegove prezentacije je Ðukanović Franchise. Molim gospodina Klementa da počne prezentaciju. Takođe, deo je predviđen i za vaše pitanja.
Thank you, Jelena. So, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm here to present to you guys about something a little different. It's actually an investment project that's open at the moment. But before I start, can I just get a raise of hands for those who have heard the brand Curry Souls? All right, thank you. I'm a marketing guy, so I use every opportunity I can to do some test on results. So before I start on this, over the next 15-20 minutes, I'll run you through the classic Curry Souls investment pitch deck. But before I do that, let me give you a little background about myself, because it's very important for projects at this kind of stage for you to get a background of the people driving the project. So I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm also not originally from the restaurant business. I've been in the business now for about 12 years. But before that, my career was in the corporate sector, sales and marketing, where when I left my corporate career, I was head of corporate business for a large insurance company in Sri Lanka. And I got an invitation from a group of passionate individuals to join them to open a beach restaurant in Sri Lanka. This is a tough decision. You're maintaining your perfect CV. You don't want to have a 2-year gap where you ran off to chase a restaurant on the beach. But I like challenges. I took it. 2 years into running restaurants, I realized this is my passion. I love it. And I wanted to then do something bigger. I wanted to create a brand that can go international. Around about 2016, we were traveling through Europe, and the idea picked up, why don't I bring South Asian food to Europe in a more accessible way to offer to the diners here? And I was in Zagreb. I spoke to a lady who was closing down a burger bar. This is a small investment. We took it over. We started running. We did not have the concept all thought of. We did not have processes, but we got it going. From the second month onwards, we were incredibly popular. It so happens to be that the locals loved the new flavor. The tourists loved that there was something unique there than what every other place was offering. We were busy. We spent the first 5-6 years trying to create the systems, processes needed to chase this vision of creating a restaurant franchise. It's one thing to create a very interesting restaurant concept and attract diners, but it's another whole different thing to create something and to be able to turn it into a scalable business model, to copy-paste the idea and maintain consistency. So after the couple of years went and we got the whole thing going, and when I felt like we were good enough to start taking the brand outside, we started raising investments, and a group of investors wanted to see whether what we had going on in Croatia was a one-hit wonder, or whether we can actually walk the talk and go and replicate the same success in another country. This is what brought me to Serbia. In 2023, we opened our first restaurant in the city center, downtown, on Obilići Venac. And that's how I ended up over here. So, to touch a little bit on the traction, as I said, we are a concept that's 10 years in development. Our first full fiscal year, we started in the summer of 2023, but 2024 was our first fiscal year. We had close to $1 million in sales. Our first store had an EBITDA of $83,000 on the first fiscal year. This is the store, not the company. Company has more expenses because we have an administration team and set up for a larger expansion. But as of right now, we are ranked #1 restaurant on TripAdvisor in Belgrade. We are also ranked among the top 3 restaurants in Zagreb. It took us 6 years to achieve that in Croatia. It took us 6 months to achieve that in Belgrade. The reason being, when we came here, there was no trial error. There was no testing. We knew exactly which color the napkins should be, which recipe works. And in 6 months, we achieved that. So we've had a year of award-winning successes since we started this whole project. And as of 2025, I think we've now reached our greatest milestone ever. We've signed up 2 franchisees that are opening, which are under construction. One will open within the next few weeks in Novi Belgrade, in Mercator Center. And I'm very excited about the second franchise that we signed that's opening in Novi Sad. And that should open by the end of this year. So, what are we actually chasing over here? Why franchise? Restaurants are quite a capex-heavy model to expand, right? They are costly. The equipment are very expensive. You need to go for prime properties, and the investments are fairly large. So our idea was, for us to expand faster, it would be better if we can create a model that is attractive enough for people to come and buy our license and invest in our brand in their own restaurant. So, and we are talking about franchise restaurants, and we all know franchise restaurant brands from all over the world. But we felt that there was a lack of franchise restaurants in the type of food that we do, South Asian food. There's a reason for that. South Asian food is super complicated. And it's very difficult to make complicated food to taste the same across several restaurants. But that's what we achieved in our first 6 years. How can I make a student who does not know to make an omelette to make a Sri Lankan chicken curry? So, in short, our concept is just broken down to 4 pillars. We have built an operation with a proper standard operating procedures. We have an atmosphere that we call the modern funky curry house. We have food which is truly authentic. And we have this open action kitchen, which everybody likes, the whole atmosphere in the restaurant. But enough about the concept now. Let's start talking a little bit on the business. So what's our plan? In 2023, as I said, we came and set up our first store. It was hugely successful. And our investors were geared up to immediately push for a second store. Last year, we opened a second one in the Galleria shopping mall. We funded this through 50% through equity investment and 50% through crowdfunding. You'll have heard of Ventu.com. It's a crowdfunding platform done by BDO. We participated in it and ran a campaign, and we raised capital for the second half. And then 2025, now this was a tough year. It's been a tough year for everybody in the market. It's been challenging, especially for the F&B market. And I'll touch a little bit more about that on the later slides. But we kept the momentum rolling. We got the central production kitchen. This is a vital component to be able to franchise, to be able to make your products centrally and send out to your franchisees. For next year, our plan is to open 1 more equity store and 2 franchise stores, which are already signed. So our target is actually to overachieve the franchise store target. And by 2030 is to have 26 franchise stores, not in Serbia, but across Europe. This is our plan. We have a map. This is not just a map taken from Google and put where we would like to be, but these are cities where we have actually gone and done market mapping exercises on the street and identified where we belong and where we don't. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to divert when the opportunity arises. So let's talk about the situation on numbers, right? As I said, 2025 was a tough year, but we managed to maintain some growth. Our plan is the company that started with just 300,000 revenue to take it up to 4 million revenue by 2029. And some of you might wonder, but 4 million, you're talking stores, you're talking 29 stores and 4 million, doesn't sound right. How come so little for 21 stores? The reason is this model is based on franchise. And franchise means our revenue is franchise royalties, 5% of the turnover of each franchise store. This has much larger margin, and because of that, the turnover numbers are not as large as having equity stores. We're doing a 400,000 euro raise right now. We are raising this for 30% of the company. We've brought down our valuation considering the market conditions to make sure that we maintain the current growth plan that we're having. We want to keep the momentum going. Now let's touch on something a little bit more important. I call this our Lego story, right? Does anybody know about Lego, the giant Lego toy company from the 90s, right? That went on to being a giant in the 90s to losing $1 million a day in the early 2000s. And then they turned that around, and now they're again number one. But this is our little year where I would like to share about the challenges that we had, being a small company that we are. Everything was going great. We opened our second store in September, and by November, there was a market crisis. Everybody was in it together. But us as a new company that just started off without reserves, this was a huge challenge. We've expanded really fast, and we had obviously not anticipated for such a challenge. The company went into burning 20,000 euros in a month for a company that was doing 90,000 euro revenue. This is significant. And it stayed like that. The revenues has not grown. We don't expect it to grow this year, but we do expect this normalizing to kind of return the market back by next year. But we did manage to get pushed up against the wall and turn to other ways to bring our company back out of the red zone. So innovation on products, innovation on cooking techniques, adapting AI into how we deploy labor hours to improve our efficiency. Various things was done. So sometimes good things come out of bad as well. And it pushed us to innovate significantly to become much more efficient. And when the market is expected to return back to normal, whenever it does, we will be operating at a much more efficient level than we did before. Next year, our plan is to move the company to Luxembourg. The reason for this is we are planning to grow the business through franchise and to receive franchise royalties from other markets. We understand that Luxembourg will be a very much less costly place to have the company position. Shareholders will move to Luxembourg, and Luxembourg will own, the company over there will own the operation that we have going on. It's quite a few faces here, but this is basically the initial founding team that supported the project when it started off. Without going into too much detail, the first gentleman just below me over there is Kai Bordell. He's the former managing director of Starbucks Germany. And also he's the former CEO of Nordsee, the seafood restaurant chain, the German chain for the global operation. So he's actually the co-founder of the project. He visited me in Zagreb back in the day when we were running the operation there. That operation still continues. And he is very much part of the project and we have a team of individuals from various different backgrounds. So this is my short 15-minute investor pitch, and I want to first thank Vladimir Ðukanović for having us on this stage, which is a privilege, and I must congratulate him because from the view over here, it looks a full house. I would like to be open for any questions if you may have.
Thank you, Clement.
Right, thank you.